Welcome everybody to How to Use Paid Social Media. This is Andy Sternberg calling in from Evanston, Illinois, in the United States at Rotary headquarters, where it's 10 in the morning. So I guess good evening to you in Kenya. Thank you all for joining. And please follow along on your screen, as this will be mostly a presentation there will be some video, and there will also be a few polls. So when you hear me mention that there's a poll, please look up at the screen and interact, as I'll be looking forward to seeing your answers. And as always, if you do have questions, feel free to ask them within the GoToWebinar questions module, and I will answer them as soon as I can. It may not be immediate, as I am doing this webinar on my own. So thanks again, and here we go. I am the manager of the social and digital media team here at RI in Evanston. My team consists of 3 people, and we work with the IOs, and we work with our global communications team as well to lead the social media strategy for Rotary International as the brand, and also to provide resources, tools, and training for clubs and districts around the world. So in this webinar, we're going to talk about Facebook adoption and usage in Kenya, as well as how to identify your campaign objectives, how to use Facebook Ad Manager, creating a targeted audience, and a few content best practices. Now, we should get through all of this in about 15 to 20 minutes, and that will leave time for questions and anything else you may want to know. Again, you could also email me outside or later if you'd like. It's andy.sternberg@rotary.org. Here's a little bit about how to participate in the call. I assume you've all participated. Perhaps you participated a week or two ago when my colleague Kim Widlicki presented on a more introductory, broader why use social media webinar. If you haven't, that has been recorded, and I highly recommend that you do check it out. As you can see here, there's the chat screen and how to mute and unmute, and polls will pop up. I will trigger them manually when it's time. There will be 3 throughout the event, and in fact, let's get our first poll going right now. There you go. Have you already promoted content or events on Facebook? And by promoted, I mean with paid media. Have you used paid to boost your content or events? We got a few more seconds. Got just about everyone in there. Looking for a couple more answers. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds if you're thinking about this poll question that's up, which you'll see right on your screen right now. Have you used paid to promote content or events on Facebook? Okay, great. We had, that one answer shifted it. We had 80% of you saying yes, and now it's 2/3 say yes, and 1/3 have not yet. So that's great. So now we'll talk a little more about how to get into it, into using paid from a beginner standpoint, and also things you might want to look at if you're already using paid. And to start that off, let's answer the critical question that everybody wants to know. What is, let's see, I have to close this poll. Hang on one second. Okay, what is Rotary and what does your club do? These are the 2 biggest questions that we think are easy to answer on Facebook, because you may be part of a club or part of a district, and you may be running one of their social presences. And if you think about it, when you post on your club Facebook page, you may have mostly members who are fans, but when they share a post, that's their opportunity to share to their friends and family something that lets them know more about, why do they go to this club meeting every week and what exactly is their club doing. So Facebook is a great way to answer that question for your friends and family and beyond that. So when you get beyond, you're going to get the friends and family, hopefully organically, when your members share your posts to their newsfeed. But when you use paid, you can hit a more targeted audience. Now let's look at Facebook use in Kenya. As we all know, everyone's on WhatsApp, but WhatsApp is primarily a messaging platform. I guess I would say it's messaging and group messaging, which is really effective for groups and also widely used by Rotary as well. However, from a us to many standpoint, it's not nearly as effective a tool as Facebook or any of the other social networks, for example. So you do have 80% of internet users in Kenya using Facebook. And then you see the breakdown there, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So Facebook is clearly the highest value place for Rotary clubs and districts to maintain a presence. And WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and Instagram. So it is possible when you're doing paid advertising on Facebook to also have that appear on Instagram, where you'll hit probably a slightly younger demographic. Now, looking at Facebook users in Kenya, we find that about 1 in every 5 Kenyan is active on Facebook, and 75% of those are age 34 and under. However, when we look at this data as it relates to Rotary interests, which according to Facebook, when you target ads, you could target people based on their interests. So it could be an interest in a football team or an interest in a TV show. Rotary International is one of those interests. And globally, if you select Rotary International, apparently Facebook has determined that about 20 million people are interested in Rotary International. So we don't exactly know what that means, but we know that it's probably an ideal target audience for us. Looking at people interested in Rotary International, there's 150,000 monthly active users in Kenya, which is a great number and a much higher number than the amount of members that are in Kenya. And it doesn't look like our membership base either. 82% are age 25 and over, so it's an older audience than on Facebook. As you see in this chart, the gray bar is all users and all Facebook users in Kenya, so it's much younger. And it skews older for the blue, the Rotary International interest crowd, which probably reflects some of our members. However, of this interest group, 47% are women, which is higher than the percentage of all women on Facebook in Kenya. So this is great. We think this is a result of people who are interested in Rotary's social presence and kind of have an affinity for Rotary because of many of our causes, such as education, child and maternal health, and just social good causes in general. It tends to get a very balanced and engaged audience. So again, you could see why using paid to reach people who may not be members, but may someday become a participant in Rotary is very effective, and it's also cost efficient. So let's talk about goals. The first thing we think about when someone comes to us and says, we need to do a paid social campaign, we say, well, what are the goals? What are the objectives? We want to think through a variety of things. Is this something that could be done via email? Is this something that would be effective on social media? And how? And what do we want to do at the end of the day? The most common objectives on Facebook that we use is reach, engagement, traffic, and video views. Now, there's a lot of overlap between those two, and I'll tell you what that is. For example, reach, this means your content will be seen by as many people as possible in the target audience that you define. So it will get to a lot of people. They may not see it multiple times, and sometimes you do want people to see it. If you're looking for traffic, for example, it may take 3-4 impressions before someone actually takes the action and clicks. Engagement, this is a great objective because engagement can mean many things. For example, engagement could just be trying to reach people who will react, with a like button, any of these emojis on the right, or they'll comment, or they'll share your post. And sharing is great. As you know, when a post is shared, it's going to reach a lot more people, the friends and family of the individual who is sharing it. And as we know, Facebook does has a preference in its newsfeed for the content that is shared by your friends and family. It assumes that you want to see and are interested in that, as opposed to content that is pushed out by a brand. So the engagement objective can also be used to drive RSVPs to Facebook event pages, which is another great way to promote events, any public-facing events that your club may be having. If you create a Facebook event page, when people RSVP, which the choices are to join or you're interested in going to an event, then their friends will see that too. Traffic. This is where traffic allows you to use a call to action button like the ones you see on the right, and you would use that objective to drive people to a website or a specific landing page. So this is something that we would use if we're really have a specific ask, like please donate, or or join, or read, or if we want to drive traffic to a certain story, or we're driving registration to convention, for example. Video views is another objective, which is great for awareness. And this is an objective to choose if you have a video on Facebook that you want many users to see. You could also include a call to action button with a video views campaign. If you do create a video views campaign, you can select to pay based on what Facebook calls through plays, which means a through play is someone watching 15 seconds of a video or the entire video, whichever happens first. And it is worth noting that in paid campaigns, videos tend to get less than 10 seconds of viewing time. So it's important to really be upfront about what you want to get across to the user, since they may only see a few seconds of it. So let's go back and do another poll here. Now that you know about these objectives, which objective best suits your club's social media and public image goals? I'll give you about a minute to think that through, and then we'll talk over the results and move on. Okay, we'll take about 10 seconds more here. Okay, great. Thank you all for answering. We had 50% say reach and 50% say engagement. So I think that's great. Both of those goals can have a lot of crossover. So I typically like to go with engagement over reach unless you really want to cover as many people. So where it's more relevant for a local club to choose reach is because you have a really confined area. If you just want to hit, say, a certain area of Nairobi, like Lavington, for example, then you want to reach as many people as you can. But if you're looking to get engagement around a topic, then engagement is also going to reach people who are more likely to engage. So it's good to play with both. And you could also split your budget into 2 campaigns and see how each one performs. So moving on, getting started with Facebook ads. And this is helpful for those of you who have yet to take the dive into paid. And it's really, really, it's fun and rewarding, and it's great because the results are there for you immediately on as big or small of a budget as you want. So the best way to start is probably just to take a post that you've already created and press that boost post button that you see underneath it if you're a page admin. Or if you're ready to take the next, leap in even further and really see all of the settings and ways you can optimize the campaign, you could press the promote button on the bottom left of your club page. Now, either way, whether you boost or promote, you can always go into Facebook Ads Manager and adjust anything, which means you could adjust the creative, you can adjust the target audience, you could adjust the budget. So nothing is final, right? If you boost a post and then you realize, oops, I shouldn't have started that today, you could go in and make those changes. So this is how you get to Facebook Ads Manager, these links, and I believe this PowerPoint will be available after this session, so you can click on everything and take the next steps. Here you'll see when you get into Ads Manager on the bottom, that is where you choose your objective. And we typically go with auction because it is the best way. Facebook does an increasingly good job at optimizing campaigns to suit your budget and your objectives. So it will keep your costs down and reach the most people as possible. Now, I also stress that when you do create your target audience, you want to make sure it's a relevant audience. For example, if you go with a worldwide audience, you're likely to reach people that are nowhere near Kenya. So while they may share some of the interests, Facebook often will go on an auction case to where the lowest bids are, which may be countries in Southeast Asia, for example. So let's talk about defining your audience. And this is the fun part to play with because you could always use it as a sandbox and kind of toy around with where you get the most results based on audience. We have a little video here to play. Let's see. I hope this works with audio. Or there is no audio on this video. I apologize. What am I saying? Let me full screen it. Oh, it is playing right now. Oops. So what this is showing, and it's paused right now, so bear with me here. This is my first time doing this. And I realize that it's a little different in this view. So I'm going to start this from the beginning. This it's about a 1-minute video, and I'm not sure that I can full screen it. So that's fine. We will just start it, and I will talk through it. No, that's not going to work. Okay. So as you can see here, I am, and hopefully you have this on full screen so you can see, I'm selecting the country, and then I could select the city. So I could select Nairobi State, I could select Nairobi the city, and then I could select the distance outside of the city I want to expand or minimize it. I could even be more specific and select, Lavington, or I could select Karen as the center point, wherever I want. If you just type it in, it will pop up. And here I am optimizing my age. It defaults to 18 to 65 plus, and I decided I'm going to go with 35 to 60. The language is English, and here I get into detailed targeting, where I am typing in interests. And after you type in a few interests, you could also hit that suggestions button, and Facebook will come up with different ideas. But what you could see is it comes up with a number next to the interest, and that shows the global amount of people interested in that topic. So obviously it's less when you define it to a specific area, but this has built an audience for me of, it looks like 66,000 people. And so I added volunteering. Now we're at 70,000 people. If I want to, I could also add, even constrict it a little more to say, I also want people who have an advanced degree. For example, they have a master's degree, or they have a bachelor's degree. I'm just saying I want to target people that maybe have at least a college education. But here, 70,000 is a great audience. It's it's large, but it's not too large. And as you can see, Facebook puts it in the green there, so it's in the optimal zone. So with that audience, I could then go to the next step, and the next step would be where I would select a budget. I didn't add this slide, but what you find out when you play around with budget is that you can toy around with it. And if you put in, say, 500 shillings, it will tell you how many people you are likely to reach per day for that amount. So you could take that and do the math in your head or on paper and determine, how much budget you want to put into it. And then at the end of the campaign, you'll see how the results actually pan out. Another great way to get started is to boost a post to page fans, and you could also boost a event to page fans. So what you see here is, you could either create a saved audience in Ads Manager, or you can just click that boost post, and then on the next tab, you will be able to create your audience or select an existing saved audience. And as I mentioned up here, just for 200 shillings, you will see exponentially improved results over what the post will do organically. And this is just the way Facebook works these days. It's a free platform, and that's great. But if you actually want to reach people, even just your page fans, if you want this to appear in their newsfeed, then you have to pay, just a couple bucks, and more people will see it. And when more people see it, more people share it. So it's a very small amount of money, and it will work wonders for you, even just to target your page fans, which is an option in targeting. Here's the video that shows how to do that. This is where I press that button, and this is what pops up. I'm going to boost the post. I want people to go to riconvention.org if they see this, because they would register for convention. It automatically knows that I'm in Illinois, so it decided that would be my location. I could click edit, and then I could change that there to anywhere I want to. Kenya, let's say. I could change the age. Right now, it's people who like Rotary International, the page, because I selected page fans. And this shows the estimated reach, and all of that is right there in the dashboard. Then I would just press the blue button to boost it, and voila, it's running. You will have to have a credit card in Facebook's system in order to make any of this work. So the other thing I always recommend, which has a very high return, is to create a Facebook event page when you're hosting an event, especially one that is open to the public, because it's a great way for people to find events near them. Facebook also has an app called Facebook Local, which shows events that are going on in the area. So these do get syndicated, and it's free. It lets people know there's an event, and these can also be boosted. So by creating the page, you're also creating the creative for an ad that can be used to promote the event to people in your area. And when promoting an event page, your objective could just be to have people RSVP to the page, or you can also drive them to get tickets or register if there's a registration page for them to go to. A lot of times, if you have a long runway, you can start by having them RSVP and then use the weeks and months in advance to raise awareness of the event and build the hype and get them excited about it, and then eventually drive people to purchase or sign up, as the case may be, as people are more willing to say they're interested in an event far in advance than they are to commit. So, as good thing we're near the end here, as I'm starting to lose my voice, we've got another poll question here for you that I'm about to pop up. And I'm just curious if you're willing, how likely it is that you will create a Facebook ad or boost a post or event in the next month. Perhaps your opinion has changed since we began, and perhaps it hasn't yet, but I'll give you about a minute to get through this. Okay, about 15 seconds left. I appreciate everyone who's participated in answering these polls. Most of you have. And on this one, we've got 60% very likely, and 40% say absolutely. So that's what I love to hear. 100% of you are very likely or absolutely going to give it a shot. And you know, it's a great way for your club or your district to use some of its public image budget, and you could just start very small just to prove the impact, and you know, and shift away from those print flyers, save some trees, and have a much greater impact with Facebook advertising. We have some paid ad best practices here, and most of these are pretty straightforward and can apply to any kind of content you're posting on social media. Those thumb-stopping visuals, as you know, the majority of people are accessing Facebook on their mobile phones. So we're talking about thumb-stopping visuals. They're scrolling their feed. They're not necessarily stopping to read everything, but if they see a visual or a video that is like, wow, they're going to stop. So focus on the image. There should always be some good imagery. And text, you want to keep text to a minimum, especially if your objective is watch the video or click here. Because if you have people reading, they're going to get tired after they read 2 or 3 sentences, and they'll be done with it. Very short attention spans on the Facebook newsfeed, as well as on Instagram, as you know. So go straight to the point. Text on images. This is a nuanced rule that Facebook's had for many years about advertising. They insist that you limit text on images in ads to 20% or less of the space should have text on it. So there is a tool that Facebook has called Text Overlay Test that you can test to make sure you have less than 20%, and you could always try. Sometimes when we sometimes we have trouble with the Together We ads, those people of action ads, because they do have a lot of text. But that said, I still recommend trying it, and your ad will get approved and you might get a notice that says there's too much text. So sometimes it will go through, sometimes it won't, but this is Facebook's rule. So, Facebook makes the rules and we just play along. As far as placement of the ad, you can always select automatic placement, but sometimes it's good to customize, because what you will find if you look at placement is that newsfeed usually has the best results. And as well as the mobile newsfeed for both Facebook and Instagram. Other options that could be chosen by default are the desktop side, where I don't think anybody looks there. So, and there's audience network as well, which usually doesn't perform as well. And there is messenger placement. So there are opportunities to advertise within Facebook Messenger. And then there's stories, Instagram and Facebook stories. You could see a lot of success. You can get some really good reach, and you can get really good reach from using the stories placement. But if you do, you just want to make sure that you have vertical format assets, because of the vertical nature of those stories. So for sizing, we find that square works really well for newsfeed ads, and this is because square takes up more real estate on your phone than does horizontal. Like the typical YouTube video or an HD video that you see is horizontal, 16:9 aspect ratio. Square just takes up more space. So you want to take up that space and have people notice it if you can. And then vertical, 9:16, which is just the flip of the horizontal aspect ratio, is best for stories. And then video length, 15 seconds or less is optimal. If you do happen to have a video that is 15 seconds or less, those can be placed as in-stream or pre-roll video ads, which are really good for reaching a lot of people. So that's about all I've got today. Here's some additional resources. A couple of them are on Facebook, 3 of them are, and then there's some third-party resources as well that you'll be able to click when you get this. Facebook Blueprint is a really interactive e-learning tool that has a paid module, which I highly recommend. And I'm always available as well if you have any questions. Again, my name is Andy Sternberg, and I can be contacted at andy.sternberg@rotary.org. And I'll be here for the next 20 minutes or so if you have any questions right away. Otherwise, I do appreciate and thank everybody for joining. And we hope that you will join us for the next presentation on public image webinar that I believe is, I think it's in a week or two. You'll be receiving more information on that in the days and weeks to come. So thanks again, everybody. I really hope you found this helpful. And this has been recorded, so it will be available to share with your colleagues when you'd like. Thanks again. Have a